so here we have the Chandler GAV19T from Plugin Alliance and BRAINWORX. In this video, we're going to go over all of the functions of this amp, and of course here, how it sounds on a bunch of different sources, go through some of our recording chains, because our recording chains are going to make the biggest difference in our tone there. So I'm going to assume that you kind of know how the Plugin Alliance amps work, but we'll go through this real quick here nonetheless. So of course, up across the top, we have bypass, which of course turns the amp off. We can also bypass it down here as well. We have undo and redo, and we have a bunch of different steps for that. So if I do something here, you can always undo that or redo it. You know, if you make a mistake on setting something up, then we have 4 different settings per preset. So if I have this setting here, let me go to a different sample here. So I can have that setting on A, and then for B, I can have a completely different setting. Then for C, have something completely different from that. All right. And of course, many of your presets that come with this amp will have 4 different settings per preset. And you can also set up your own presets with 4 different settings. So again, maybe have something sort of normal on A, and then something super high gain here on B. All right, then copy and paste. So if I like the settings of B, copy those and put them on C, so on and so forth. Then we can reset C. We can go to D and reset D, B or A, of course. Then we have the FX rack up at top, which we'll get to in just a second. We can also click the Chandler logo to head back there. So let's get down to our tone stack here, the front panel. And this amp reacts differently than probably any amp that you've tried. Let me go to a different sample here. All right, that works for us. Let's turn off this delay for now. And again, bypasses right here as well. Then we have our shape. So we have a normal shape or an intense shape. Let's put this on normal. I'm gonna pull my input gain down. Let's just center these out. I'm just using the scroll wheel on my mouse, by the way, for adjusting these parameters. Control click to put things to the center. And let me turn our boost off there. So there's our normal shape. Make it intense. We're dropping a lot of those low mids, and it's just much more aggressive overall. Then we have our drive section for our power amp in this case, whereas over here would be where we're putting the input, okay, to our preamp. Same for the bias there, affects the preamp tubes. So for our boost, you can almost think of this as like a pedal, sort of. It's not the same thing, but it's kind of like a pedal right here for our boost, and then our different types of our tone here. So let's hear this on this sort of metal sounding track first, so you can really hear it. I'll put this on the normal shape. So it's off right now. Put it on the treble boost. It's thick. So just dial that in to taste there. We have bass and treble, and these parameters, these tone pots here, work a little bit differently than a lot of other, bass and treble controls. You can really get a lot of tone out of these here. So you'll really hear that if I go to sort of like a metal style section here. And drive our input here, then our bias here. So our tubes are going to be biased a little bit differently to get different tones out of this here. So we can drive the input section of our preamp here. We're on the intense right here. So this amp is not really for metal, but it can do rock pretty well. You can try some metal-like stuff, and it does okay, but it's not necessarily meant for that high gain metal like our DIEZEL would be, or like our ENGLs would be. Okay, but it's a great amp, as you can tell. I mean, it sounds great here, especially with let's go to something for more of a rock sound right here. All right, then we have the input here, so high or normal. Let's go to, come down here to hear this. Put it on normal. Put this on normal as well. All right, so let's head to the effects rack now. And we have a noise gate. I'm going to kind of assume you know what a noise gate does. So we'll adjust our threshold here and then the range, basically the amount we want to clamp down, either very light or very heavy. Okay. Let me change these settings first. Put it on intense. All right. And then pull the range up here and the threshold. Really cuts off there versus if I had it down here, not cutting out, as much. So just adjust that to taste. Then we have our tight and smooth filters. And what these are a high pass and a low pass. So we can put these in post or in pre. Pre is going to filter out the sound of your dry guitar. Post will filter out the sound after the amp, just like if you put, a EQ after your amp on your plug-in chain. Tight is going to tighten up the low end, and smooth will smooth out the top. Okay, so let me grab something different here. And it's in post right now. So you can really hear that low end being cut out. If we do it on pre, then we're basically putting a high pass on the input of your guitar. So of course on pre, it's going to be hitting the amp different, so it's going to react different. Okay. So if your pickups are really boomy, you can tighten that up here, especially for like 8 and 9 string guitars. And then same thing up here for smooth. We can smooth out some of that top end from your pickups on pre, or of course control the overall top end here on post. We'll put it on post for now. That's good for dialing out some of that fizz, and pre is good if your pickups are really bright. So that is your filter section. I'll just put this about right there for now. Then there is a delay built in. Turn it on or off. Tap your tempo right here, just with your mouse there. Adjust your tempo times 2 divided by 2. And it's linked to our host BPM, which of course is 120. Click in here and get time divisions of that just real quick, like that. Then of course your mix knob, your feedback, so how much is it going to feedback, and then you can dirty it up with your lo-fi as well. So we'll just grab this here to really hear the delay. Going to keep going now because that feedback is 100%. So turn this down there, and a little bit of lo-fi. That is your delay. Then of course input gain. So if you want to really drive that preamp, you could do that here or take it down. And in general, you're going to want this on 0. We can bypass our preamp if you want to send this out, you know, to a different preamp if you want. And bypass the power amp. And we can power soak the power amp as well. Turn that down if you want. Then of course pull your input up or something like that. You know, get a bit of a different tone there. All right. In general, put this on about -10. Okay. So we'll put that about there to control that overall volume. Let me pull my input back down again. Okay. All right, so let's get on. Let me turn this off for now. Get on to our recording chains. Now, our recording chains are essentially your cabinet and microphone. And there's also other things within the chain, like sometimes there's EQs and different preamps and things like that. So this is really going to make a huge difference to your overall tone. Just switch it up here. Just use our minus and plus buttons to scroll through. Click the name to actually choose your impulse response. If you want to use your own IR loader, you can just say empty right there. Obviously it sounds horrible because there's no cabin mic, but you can use your own impulse responses that way. Then we have our auto feature, which is on all of the BRAINWORX amps. Set it to a bar all the way up to 8 bars, and it will automatically switch for you. Let's turn it on. Once you find something that you like, just turn auto off, and I'll go back a couple. All right, so that is all the features here of this amp. So now we'll go through some of the recording chains, just so you can hear how they really affect the tone. I'll start here at number 1. We'll try some different samples and just really hear how this it really changes up our tone. So you'll have to adjust your parameters somewhat based on your impulse response. So that is our Chandler amp from Plugin Alliance and BRAINWORX.